Just looking at that clip of Michael Jackson and the military police, the country under occupation, right? That's exactly where we are. That's exactly where we are. So yeah, we are at war. We're trying to finally get rid of an occupation that's been in this country for a very, very long time. Right. So Section 83, it doesn't sound very exciting, but it really is. And that's because the people have made it that way. We've had, let's see, probably about 2 months now of experience with this. Some people were leaving it until, yesterday or even this weekend to send off their Section 83 letter. What Section 83 is, for people who don't know, although everybody on here should know pretty much by now, is a withdrawal from the workspace or workplace because of hazards. And the overarching act is the Health and Safety at Work Act. Now, so just quickly, because the 15th is on everybody's mind, that's the day that the people who are under orders, if you like, and have had their letters from their various places of work, that if they are not vaccinated by the 15th, then they will be stood down, or they're going to have to talk about their future, basically, because they're being told by the Ministry of Health, apparently, that the employers cannot have unvaccinated workers in the workplace. It's a very interesting idea that a ministry can tell a workplace who or who not who they may not employ, especially if your employer or your PCBU, we'll call them, is in the private sector. Seems that the private sector especially hasn't woken up to the fact of that's a communist, that's living in a communist country. That's how how it's set up, that every business belongs to the state, basically. And unfortunately, New Zealand private sector employers have slid into this mode very easily, very, very easily. One of the reasons, perhaps, that they have done so, especially the big corporations, is that they have been promised a workforce to replace you with. The teachers know this. In Auckland, they've got 600 teachers that they've brought in. Haven't done too much, haven't made too much effort to hide that fact. Now, earlier in the week, Forrest read out there was a clip of him reading out what's called the play, what's it called? The Pandemic Preparedness, not pandemic. Anyway, it was the act that we all kicked off on. Now, there's been a little update on that. Excuse me. I was around checking on a place nearby that's handing out extra food that, has come out of rescued food. And I saw a lady standing by a voucher window, and I said to the after she'd gone, I said, "Oh, what's the story with the vouchers?" And the lady said, "Oh, well, we're giving those out to the South American, mostly South American workers that are here." And I said, "Oh, I thought they were, that the government was giving them a wage, and they were getting help from WINS with food." And she said, that was the case in the first lockdown, but in the second lockdown, they basically left those workers to themselves, to their own devices. So I'd say there was pretty much, and they can't go back to their own countries, of course. Most of them are shut out of those countries as well. So the government thinks they've got a very compliant workforce there now, I would say, to get the jab or you know, well, basically just live on the street because they've got no money. So, you know, I wondered about the reason that people were living in cars here, but that's pretty much the reason. So yeah, so the local community are providing those people with food, and good on the local community. But yeah, I was talking to the lady there, and so we've probably got another convert, so that's very good. So maybe maybe a question about what people would like to hear about most. Do they want to hear about the they're not really negotiations, because I've been laying down the law to the employers that I've been talking with, and they're pretty much buckling. The latest I heard, and I want to talk about Section 12. It's not Section, Clause 12A of this latest order, which allows the employer to the CEO, actually, the CEO, if they're in the private sector, the CEO of that company can declare that they need every worker for their business use, to keep their businesses going. So yeah, there's bright things on the horizon. One of the I've heard too that one of the principals that has been negotiating with the workers there is actually going to talk to the ministry. This is in a state school. Is going to talk to the ministry about that sort of response. Okay, so yeah, I saw a question from Jeff about the South Americans from Chile, from Argentina, from that's mostly Argentinians or Chileans on the island. Yeah. So you just want me to keep on talking about what's been happening,
Liz,
right?
Well, is there anyone who wants to ask Liz a question? You can unmute yourself and
can you hear me?
Go for it, Heidi. Sure.
Sorry.
Liz.
So Liz, I messaged you. I'm not all that familiar with Section 83 at all. Josie sent me through the letter, so I've had a little bit of a read of it. So I've already had my meeting with my employer and received my letter, which basically, I think, I'm just trying to pull it up in front of me, says, as of the 16th or something. Yep. So do I need to get this, if I'm going to do this, do I need to get this in ASAP before the 16th?
Yes.
Okay. So I was hoping not to have to go down this track, but by the letter that, well, I like to play nicely.
I'm going to give in without a fight.
No, well, I'm not that sort of person either, but it just seems to me from the letter that they've sent me that they're not even thinking about how they can redeploy me, to be honest.
No,
I've become superfluous to their need. They have very cleverly implemented, although they'll say that that's not the case, another staff member for my job early. And I think it's been done on purpose, and I think they've actually been trying to get rid of me for some time. So I work for Plunkett. I don't know if you've got anyone else that works for Plunkett. I'm hoping you do. Apparently there's 30 of us. I've asked them to put me in contact with other Plunkett nurses, and they say they've let the other Plunkett nurses know, but no one wants to be in contact with me, which I think is interesting because I think it's bullshit. So they obviously are paid by the Ministry of Health. So yeah, I just don't know how this all works with the letter.
Let's go through a scenario of a meeting I had yesterday. Okay. Now, what you always get straight off from them is we're following the order. We have to follow the law. The government's telling us blah blah blah. Right. So what I point out to them first is a little bit about the hierarchy of laws, if you like. An order is the same as a regulation, and it is made under an Act of Parliament. An Act of Parliament is debated by the people that we represent, and then it goes off, and here's the surprising thing for most people, to the Governor-General to sign off. Right? So we are run from Britain, basically. And when I'm talking about an occupying army, most people don't even understand, the occupying army don't even understand they're in it, right? So that gets signed off by the Governor-General. Now, in the case of regulations or orders, these are what's called executive orders, right? And it's actually running the country by fiat, okay? So you only need one signature for an order, and that's the Governor-General's. So they are what's called subordinate legislation, right? So that's good. So the act we're talking about is the Health and Safety at Work Act 2015. That's a full-blown act. And so orders or regulations have to be congruent or consistent with acts, okay, every act. Most importantly, the one that people talk about a lot is the Bill of Rights Act. However, that Bill of Rights Act was conveniently comes into line a lot and gets interpreted a lot in terms of what the UN wants. Okay? So I prefer the good old Health and Safety at Work Act, which is all about workers and PCBUs. PCBUs are people in charge of business units. Now, the responsibility of the PCBU in terms of the workspace is very, very important. You'll have to, you'll notice always that they always talk about people in the workplace. In actual fact, all the employer, well, very importantly, the employer, the PCBU has to make a very safe workplace. Now, what they've done is with all of this business of telling people you can't come into the workplace until you've got a vaccination, is they've extended the control of the workplace out into the doctor's office. So anything that anything like that, any injury that accrues from the vaccination then comes back on the PCBU. Now, they haven't heard this before, but that is the actual that's the actual lawful position, right? So hazards also in a lot of can be in a lot of forms. Now, people might have heard about the hazard of stress, right? I think Chris Linda's done a very good explanation of that, and people can, and I'm saying to people, get off on stress leave. At this stage, it's probably like, yeah, it's a bit moot because we've come right to the end of it, right? And they're going to have to. You can still, if you haven't got the Section 83 letter in by Tuesday, let's say, it's a very difficult situation you've got yourself into. But here's the other thing: what they haven't also realised, that by bringing the hazard of the vaccination into the workspace by their control, they then become liable for the people who are injured, who are already vaccinated. So they've got a big bomb on their hands, right? So the other hazard that we're talking about, mostly with Section 83, is the COVID disease itself, right? So what the strategy is that we flick the switch in our heads and fully take on this deadly disease, and we say, okay, it's there now. You have to prove to us that we are not in any danger, and oh, someone's cat. We're not in any danger, and you have to test the workspace, and wiping down surfaces is not enough. There's no testing in that. You need to test, you need to send the swabs off to the lab, and you need to test the atmosphere, and you also need to test the people in the workspace. But you can do this with this new technology. Well, not quite so new, but pretty new, especially for testing for COVID, breathalyzers, and atmospheric testing. Okay, so what I've been saying to the other hazard that's in the workplace are these masks. These masks can cut down on your oxygen for a start, right? We don't even have to go into the graphene oxide that's in them, but yeah. That's a bit of a hard one to prove, but yeah, cutting off people's oxygen and building up their carbon monoxide is not a good idea.
Hey, Hans, can you switch off the mic?
Right.
Roger.
That's better.
Okay, I've unmuted myself. I'm back. Okay, so the three hazards at the moment, and we're going to be adding a fourth by the look of it, the vaccine, the COVID-19 disease, and the masking that's going on. Now, the fourth probably is the shedding. That'll have to be proved. Oh yeah, there we go. Forrest has put something up for us. Now, what I'm telling employers or PCBUs now, and I keep trying to remember it myself, is that their liability is huge. In the case of the public sector, we as taxpayers will foot the bill. However, I believe that we can flip it over to Pfizer anyway, because it's a clinical trial, and anyone who's sponsoring clinical trials will actually they have to pay the bill anyway. So I think that we will be able to flip it to them, so it won't come out of our treasury. As to the other thing about liability under the Health and Safety at Work Act is prison time. Now, maybe principals think that, and these people who are running the hospitals and who are pushing this think, okay, well, somebody else will pick up the tab, but they won't pick up the tab for prison time. I noticed when I was talking to a private sector employer this morning, that they also, I think it's probably in everybody's blurb that they send you because they haven't got enough imagination to even write the things themselves, that they advise you to go and look at the MedSafe, etc., for information, because people are saying also, listen, I'm thinking about it, but I want more information, right? And they're saying, no, well, you go and have a look at the information. In actual fact, any hazard in the workplace, it's actually the PCBU who needs to look at the information. And under section, I think it's 21 or something, it's in the form letter anyway. They cannot contract out of that responsibility, and they cannot get somebody else to do it. So they're breaching the Act all over the place. And when you look at section 47, you can see what sort of sanctions they are met with. I think this probably the smallest fine is $50,000 or something, and that's for things like notification fines, etc. Goes up to $3 million. And if they have people dying now, and they've been noticed that is in the workplace, although they should know it themselves, and WorkSafe should have put them in the picture. But WorkSafe, I believe, is probably a criminal organisation. they I think I told people in the last Zoom that we had that they're not even investigating they're so busy playing the government's lapdog that they're not even investigating very serious injuries in the fishing industry. So they haven't done any investigations for a long time. So yeah, that's a story with WorkSafe. So what I'm saying to the employer when I'm talking to them is, or PCB, you better get in touch with WorkSafe right now and find out where these breathalyzed and atmospheric testing kits are, because we know that they're being manufactured in New Zealand, probably on the North Shores. I've got a tip off about Target Road, actually, Glenfield. So yeah, we might have to. There'll be a few arrests soon, I think. But so I think that we're moving. Hipkins, I had a meeting on the Thursday morning and talked about. I'll answer some questions in a minute, Ruth. I had a meeting on Thursday morning, and the recording of it went straight off to the ministry, as far as I know. That's what the principal said he was going to do. And then I heard on the news a bit later in the day that Hipkins was saying, oh, well, teachers who come back into the classroom, if they're not vaccinated on Tuesday, we'll leave them there until we get them, educated out of, well, he didn't say that, but he was saying there's misinformation about, and so they weren't going to chuck the workers, they weren't going to chuck the teachers out of the classroom, forbid them the classroom. Now, this is the important thing, is about these workers that they've had on standby, those teachers, those 600 teachers, as a notice of a hazardous workplace is in, and the PCBU is required by law to report that to WorkSafe, then they cannot employ other people in your place, okay? Now, someone was saying earlier that Heidi was saying earlier that you believe they've got somebody there. You need to get the Section 83 in, and if you talk to them, tell them, yeah, you can't employ somebody else in my stead, and I'll have a look.
So unfortunately, Liz, it's been done in a sneaky, tricky way, I think. So what happened was, my husband was moving to Hamilton, and I said to them, I'm wondering if there's a job in Hamilton for me. This was some time ago. And so they said to me, a little bit down the track, oh, look, we'll employ someone else to work into your area and work you out. So they did that.
Yeah, but
they never worked me out. They just.
Sorry, Heidi. You got to flip over from you as employee to the workspace. All you got to think about now is the workspace. Okay? It's the workspace that we've got a problem with, not who or what or whatever your role is. It's not the role or anything like that. It's the actual affected space, right? So we've got to get off arguing with them about, well, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and really, apart from the fact that they have reached their contracts with you in terms of masking, testing, or demanding vaccinations, all the rest is to do with their main liability, and their huge liability lies in the fact that they're PCBUs. Now, they're called PCBUs rather than employer because the Health and Safety used to be the Health and Safety in Employment Act, and then they changed it to the Health and Safety at Work Act because there was very unsafe workplaces that they couldn't, they were having a bit of trouble regulating, I think, because the person in charge of the business unit was quite often quite hard to pin down, especially in contracting situations. So the PCBU is all about and the worker is so it's not always the employee. It could be a contractor or a subcontractor. It can be they can also have liability for people entering the workspace. So, for example, in the case of shops, whoever is in charge of that workspace, okay, now if you're renting from somebody, your workspace, okay, it's the person that you're renting from is the PCBU, right? So they have responsibility for it then. And also, say you're working at a supermarket, the customers coming in have to be protected against this hazardous working condition. So really all of these supermarkets, etc., who haven't tested their atmosphere and and done swabs, really should be getting also in the can for if people are coming into them and picking up something in the shop. Who knows, right? So what I'm proposing to people now, to the PCBUs, is that they get onto WorkSafe pretty quickly and get this the breathalyzers and the atmospheric testing kits, and you know, pretty much put a bomb into WorkSafe, because WorkSafe, the government has known about this company on the North Shore. They have been approached by another company who were thinking of buying these people out, and anyway, so that this company went and asked the government, what about, you know, will you buy these kits off us? They're being exported already overseas, and the government said no. We'll have MedSafe make ours, thanks very much. So the government knows about them, and I think they're probably intimately linked with them. I think once we get the trials going and the investigations are done into company holdings, then we'll find a lot of linkages between the people in WorkSafe, the people in the ministries, and industry out there that's producing these things.
Well, should we open it up again, Liz, and see if anyone has any questions or anyone has anything that they're particularly struggling with that they want a hand with? Mute yourself.
Yeah, sure.
And then once you finish, just to mute yourself again. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Liz, I think I've spoken to you about the letter's gone in. I responded. She hasn't responded to me, and you said to me, so after the 15th, that's when we take it further. Can you tell me what that will look like? What will we be doing?
Well, in terms of a non-response, what I'm saying to people is keep an eye on your pay. They have to pay.
Yeah.
They cannot employ somebody in your stead, and they cannot sack you.
Okay, so basically I have to wait till not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday to see if they're paying me. So.
I have one of the people I've been helping. I have one where they've sacked her. They didn't give any reason for it. They had a try at pinning something on her, so they're probably going to try and come up with that. But we're going to have to do a PG in that case, because they're not going to try any abandonment of work or no work, no pay rubbish, right?
I just sit back and wait now.
Beg your pardon?
I just sit back and wait until
that's pretty much all we can do at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So it's Marianne here. So can you hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm due to get sacked on the 15th. I got a letter essentially saying, this is what's going to happen. I was surprised at the letter because I'm on sick leave until the 12th of December. And I was under the impression that they couldn't fire me essentially and stand me down while I was on sick leave. But this note is very clear saying you absolutely 100% will be stood down. At 5 o'clock, your key will be deactivated, whatever. Doesn't say that specifically, but essentially that's what it says. So my concern is that I put in this section, the letter for Section 83, and it just gets ignored.
Well,
Say I want to
well, now the employer, sorry, the PCBU is getting news of their liability under the Health and Safety at Work Act. They've just been looking at the Employment Relations Act, and they think they can sack people willy-nilly because the government has said they can.
Yeah.
Right. Now that will probably that would have been the case, and it would have been quite a hard uphill climb because there's things about process that we could have gone on with, but that takes ages and ages. And I mean, these PG that we have to do are going to be quite a long, drawn-out process. However, Section 83, because it's it's their responsibility for the workplace, and you know, we've got to take this. Even though, you know, there's the hazard of so-called COVID-19 is probably not that great for people. Right. The hazard that they've created by insisting on vaccinations is a huge hazard, right? Yeah. Now, they, and also under the Health and Safety at Work Act, they have also fines for trying to coerce people. Okay. Or trying to bribe people, right? Ah. So to be in, to continue work in a space, to coerce them, try and coerce them back by threat of getting the sack, there's huge fines. Yeah, and yeah, it could be jail time. Yeah. Yeah. So, but they didn't know this before, so it's a very changed landscape, yeah? None of them, these people that you're talking about, none of them have even considered the Health and Safety at Work Act any before. So with WorkSafe, but WorkSafe has been giving them the wrong information.
So I give them this information, I request a meeting with them to discuss this.
Yeah, well, if they want a meeting, yeah, if they want a meeting, mostly they do. Okay.
Okay.
Where's the plump bitch?
Okay, so on AT, please unmute yourself and go next. Then it's Kayla, and everyone else, please chill and relax. We will get through your questions.
Hello, Liz.
Thanks.
Yeah. Apologies, my reception's a little bit hoo-ha, so the probably will still working out. But two things. I'll go with the first one first. The first one is my training institution is I've got 1 year left on my training and stuff, and they're trying to force me to have the jab. Otherwise, I can't complete the last year. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So, are you asking if students can cover it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes is the answer.
Yep. So, what?
Yeah. The Health and Safety at Work Act is workers. Okay, it's also the only people not covered by the Act are volunteers. And prisoners doing work in the prisons. Yeah, don't worry about the PGs too much, guys. We're fighting this battle first, right?
Yeah.
And I expect that we're going to defeat them pretty soon now. And so everybody will be welcomed back with open arms.
Yeah.
But we could still run PGs for exceptionally bad behaviour. But yeah, we want to stop this, and we want to get our industries and our work back. Yep.
Yeah. The second one is that my partner's also, like many of us here, potentially going to lose our jobs. But however, we did. The employer did. The manager did say that she could apply for stress leave, which she is going to do on Tuesday.
Who said they were going to apply for stress leave?
It's my partner's working for a pharmacy, and so
Right.
she's got a supportive manager who actually.
Right. No, but she's the one who applies for the stress leave, not the manager.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah. So she's doing it on Tuesday. So she's got quite a supportive manager and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. I sent some letters, some questions to my employer, and they changed their tune a little bit.
Good.
As far as offering stress leave and stuff like that, but I haven't got a copy of the letter either, of the actual letter. So once I get a copy of that, then I'll be able to send it in straight today. Kia ora.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I think once the employers understand their danger, their attitude is going to change. Yeah. Once it's pointed out to them, especially the private sector, they don't have to jump to the government's tune. You'll find though that a lot of them have got contracts with the government. However, you've got to remember that this is going to be a fairly short, sharp battle. It's not. We're winning the first one with the public sector is the hard one. The private sector, once they understand that we could open up the country within weeks, with the because we're going to insist that nobody's going back to work until those breathalyzers and the atmospheric testing is done. Because this is our way to open up the country as well. It's not just about people's individual jobs, but it's the individual who has to actually take the action. But don't you feel a bit like David? David and Goliath.
Very true.
Know who won.
Right, so Kayla, you're next. Go ahead with your question for Liz.
Hi Liz, I have a few questions. So I'm needing to give my decision on Monday where I stand with the vaccine to my employer. I've been told that if I choose not to be vaccinated from the 1st of December, I will not be allowed on campus. I'm a tutor at a college.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, basically by Monday I need to acknowledge and made my decision there.
Mm-hmm. So you need to hand in your Section 83 letter. Now there is a particular one for the education sector. So your public sector, yeah.
Okay. Where can I find that?
Forrest has got some copies.
Okay.
I have also, if you can leave your email with Forrest, I can then tell. Oh, actually, we had somebody for. Hang on, I've got an email that you could send to. Just a moment. Sorry about that. So for the education sector, we've got freedom4, and that's number 4, Kiwis 2, that's number 2, at gmail.com.
Okay, thank you. So I will send that through on Monday, but I just had a couple other questions.
Actually, it'd be best if you can get it straight away.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Sure, I will definitely get on to that. Another couple of questions. Do you think there's any kind of guaranteed subsidy to cover if I was to lose my job in this situation, if following that stand down process?
I think that's the government, isn't it? You're being paid by the government. I think that they're going to be running for cover because they've been found out to be they actually committed industrial espionage against this country.
Okay. If they choose to stand me down, which they will, because they've already actually went through the union meeting and the ER and all,
You don't know. You're assuming they don't know about Section 83. The unions have been totally infiltrated.
Yeah. Okay.
They will not stand up for their they will not stand up for their workers, and I intend, after all of this is settled down, to take a number of cases for people to the small, advise them on taking claims to the small claims tribunal to get their union fees back for the last 2 years.
Okay. If they do choose to stand me down, or say that they're going to, what should my response be to that?
Well, if you've already got the Section 83 in, your response is that you cannot do that because I'm refusing to go into an unsafe workplace because I know for a start there's other people in there and they could be shedding. And the other thing is that to let me back into the workplace, you're saying I must have this vaccination, which is extremely dangerous, right? So they can, if you have a look at Section 80, have a look at the Health and Safety at Work Act to get yourself a bit familiar. It's not difficult. 2015, and look at Section 47, right? It's in the actual. What would you call it? It's in the, sorry, I was got distracted there. Section 47 is in the Section 83 letter as well. Okay, so you can look at it and you can see my explanation of it in legal terms.
Okay, sure. And just sorry, one more question. Do I need to look at trying to get a lawyer in this situation, or is this something that we are sort of processing just through acknowledging, the Health and Safety Acts and the laws?
Well, if you can get in a lawyer who can understand it, because they're pretty thin on the ground.
I definitely can't afford ones.
I did see actually that. That Voices for Freedom, I watched a little bit of one of their things the other night. Somebody passed it on to me, and there was a gentleman on there with an English accent. He's a health and safety expert. He's not a lawyer. He kept saying a couple of times he's not a lawyer, but he did point out these sections, right? And he did make some good points about that they cannot hand on responsibility for reporting or doing anything under the Act that they're supposed to be doing. So they're supposed to, when they get the Section 83 letter, they're supposed to be straight on to WorkSafe and say, I've got this hazard in the workplace, what do I, help me, right? And that's what I'm telling employers or PCBs now. That's best to get, because for a start, we don't want as taxpayers to be paying out. Keep this, try and divorce your own fear and disgust with it, and think a bit strategically about the workspace and how you can make the PCB very aware of their liabilities and the reasons why they cannot do anything to you. Because if once they've got the Section 83 letter, they're on notice, right? They have to get in touch with WorkSafe, number one. They have to then start the testing regime that you're talking about, right? Then they cannot, so basically your job is intact then, right? They cannot, and all of the case law most of the case law, because there is some case law in New Zealand, and we're going to get a case soon. You know, there are many, I'd say, but I know of one especially. In the States, the case law is very much around where people have been in a hazardous situation. They've had to leave the workspace and they haven't got paid, or they got sacked, right? Now, that's called protected work. Anything under their, the sections of their OSH Acts, OSHA, they call it there, Occupational Health and Safety Acts. Anything under those that you do in terms of like Section 83, that's protected work. So they cannot sack you, right? And they have to understand that by doing that, they then get fined, and you don't have to sue them. WorkSafe has to sue them. So in terms of getting a lawyer, if you can explain that to a lawyer, you could probably do it if you actually apply yourself and read the Act and read the letter, okay? With the two things together, you should you'll have a better understanding of it than your lawyer, which is always a good place to be in.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lawyer is definitely out of my budget. So I feel exactly. I am quite in this alone. Well, not alone, but, you know, in my personal situation alone, I am the minority in my workplace. So you are way ahead of any lawyer just by being here, okay?
Yeah. Okay. So remember that. And remember that you are the one making the, going, not them.
Right, yeah.
And all this business about, it just shows you how little they know and how little their employers, their lawyers know, in that they've allowed themselves to be led by the nose by Workspace. WorkSafe.
Being like a government funded, you know, like a college. So
WorkSafe is used to be called OSH, and it sat under the Department of Labour. Now it's under employment, it's under Business, Innovation and Employment Ministry. They were here's the interesting thing, they were one of the ministries, along with the Transport Ministry and the Ministry of Health, that actually gave the drafters, parliamentary drafters, instructions on putting the Act together. This is the COVID-19 health response, Public Health Response Act. They're totally, either they're totally stupid or they're totally corrupt.
Yeah.
I'd say the second.
Yeah.
Because WorkSafe have been going around telling employers and PCBUs that they have to get testing done, they have to mask people up, and they have to get them vaccinated.
So how can
Yeah, they're following orders, if you like. But whose orders? Probably the UN's.
If we're stating that there's an unsafe, you know, work environment with the vaccinated, how can we prove that when their orders are?
We don't have to prove anything. It's all up to them. We don't have to spend any money. We get paid. Okay. And but we've got to put them in the picture. And you know, we don't worry about proving things. This is the thing. If even in the employment situation under the Employment Relations Act, right? You can make the and it's the opposite on burden of proof. It switches. So you make the accusation, and they've got to rebut it, which is the other way. You know, it's a burden of proof is switched, and it's the same with the Health and Safety at Work Act. Because there's so much of a power differential. It's like the difference between the burden of proof, you know, like between a criminal matter and a civil matter. One is beyond reasonable doubt, and one is you know, possibility, balance and possibilities. But that's because the power of the state is so strong, right? And the power of the employer is, or the PCBU is strong. They control not just the workers, but they control the workspace that the workers are working in. So you've got to have a bit of, you know, employment law is set up for employees. Health and Safety at Work Act is set up for workers.
Thank you. It's all from me.
Awesome. Thanks heaps, Kayla. Now it was Rhonda who was next. Go for it, Rhonda.
Thank you. So I work for an NGO and a charitable trust type of setup. We have about 12 people that are about to lose their jobs. So Liz, I know it's probably not too late to send in that Section 83 letter. Right. And if we need backup, can we ask you later on?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What I'd really like to do would be to get groups, and then we can have a Zoom meeting, and the group can, you know, each. But you've got to remember that each person puts a Section 83 letter, and you cannot. Yes. This is not a group thing. And there is under the Act, there is health and safety, not committees. What are they called? Work groups. However, herding cats, yep. Yeah. It puts you in a weakened position as a trying to take legal action as a group, because you just need one person to pull back, and that'll not just destroy morale, but it can destroy the whole thing. And it's like, you know, it's like scabbing. It's like, you know, it's when you've trusted other people to get the thing done, and they let you down, breaks morale, and it gives the PCBU a big stick to beat you with.
Yeah. The other thing about our order or our mandated policy that's been proposed is that they say that they will be fined by WorkSafe if they have any unvaccinated people on their property after the 16th.
Oh, right.
And that's
interesting, isn't it? Yeah. That's very interesting. So WorkSafe have implicated themselves in this as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. Man, I'm just dying to say. I've got to find out who's the head of WorkSafe. But yeah, no, they are. That's what I thought, a criminal organisation.
Yeah, I think I spotted it in the order itself, the COVID health response order. I think I did.
Yeah, you'll be right. So no, I didn't think they'd get that close to you know, admitting their thing in it. But you know, they're an NGO, that non-governmental, so they're supposed to be supported by charity, right?
Yep.
Now those people are directly can be put in jail. Now it says, you know, that apparently you can take, and WorkSafe, this was one of the other things someone was telling me this morning, WorkSafe has got on their website how the process for taking private prosecutions. Okay, so we can take private prosecutions. If WorkSafe drags their feet, we'll just prosecute them as well.
You want to speak? Yeah. So Liz, hi, I'm Linda Jane, and I also work in the same organisation as Rhonda. I got a letter to say that my consultation process is going to start this Tuesday. So I just wanted to ask, and I've got another staff member who I'm asking on behalf of too, would it buy us a couple of things? Would it buy us time to apply for, we're already off on stress leave, to have our stress leave extended?
Yes.
And the other thing is, can we politely decline coming in on Tuesday to have that consultation process if we're still on stress leave. We're not saying no, we're not going to have it, but it just may not be at the date that they'll want us to have it.
Everything, once your Section 83 is in, you do not enter that space again. Okay,
Great.
so everything's got to be Zoom.
Okay, so go ahead, get both of us extend our stress leave.
Yeah, well, you're already on. Okay, you can just go on. You don't need to get it extended now. You're already on. You're away from the workspace. Put your Section 83 letter in. Say, I can't come in.
Okay.
It's not stress anymore. You're not actually stressed now, are you? You're feeling quite happy? Now you know we've got them on the ropes. Okay, so yeah, you don't need to extend that stress leave. Just send the Section 83 in.
Yes.
And wait for the explosion.
Liz, the other thing is, should we still be putting incident reports in?
Yeah, do that. If you've started the Chrysalis process, that's a good one. Yep.
Okay. All right.
But although you're not there to actually report on it anymore, I think Chris was talking about people who are still in the workspace to make these horrible people who are there hassling you back off. That was the main point of his strategy, which is a very good one. However, you know, basically you're out of the workspace now. Just go ahead with you wouldn't need to put in, but yeah, well, you could. Yeah, it's still quite stressful. So you could be saying, you know, all of this business of negotiations, and I don't want them to send me any more communications except to arrange the time that we're going to have the Zoom.
Okay. All right. Yep. So basically, get in the Section 83 ASAP.
Yep.
And don't worry about, and even though my stress leave, it was dated, you know, to finish on the 16th, don't worry, leave it and just let it
let it go.
Just let it go.
Yep.
And the Section 83 just goes through to obviously my manager and then the CEO.
Yeah. And probably, yeah, it was funny, this one I had today. I don't know who the person was who was conducting the meeting, because then they started, as soon as I started to say, listen, you need to get your lawyers onto this. It's, you know, you obviously don't know what danger you're in. And they said, oh, we'll hand it over to HR then. So I don't know, one was the CEO and one was the, I don't know what she was actually. But anyway, there we go. All so right. Yeah, and put it. Actually, the more people that you CC it to, the better. Actually, because they're all in danger of jail.
Yeah,
that's what they don't really get, right?
And so, Liz, once they receive that, as soon as they receive it from each of the 12 of us in our group, because we're all going to do it, then what then happens? How do they get back to us? Do they then have to notify us, or what happens?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. Just say to them when you send it off, say, well, yeah, now this, I won't be coming back until, you know, these things are sorted. And so of course we can only have Zoom. And I know that my colleagues are also you know, doing this, so we want the Zoom meeting all together.
Okay, brilliant.
With me.
With what?
With me.
Oh, of course. That goes without saying.
No show without punch.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. Excuse me, swearing.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Right.
Lisa, you're next. Thanks.
Yeah, so you answer some, thank you, answer some of the stuff that I was going to ask you. So yes, just to be aware that we go like 4 or 5, I think, from Capital and Coast, we're going to do in group. But your letter, Liz, is really amazing, but we probably need to add at the end that we want to meet as a group. Is that right?
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. When we get to, you know, talking on Zoom with the employer, that would be really good. And people feel, you know, well, they each know that what's being said then too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be, yeah.
Workplace with other people. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and we definitely need you there because can I tell you something positive just to give us a little bit of something positive? I just read that the Ministry of Business and Innovation and Employment, you may know this already, they have a shipment of 300,000 rapid antigen tests that's just arrived in New Zealand, and they don't have a rollout. Have you seen that?
No, I didn't, but I'm not well.
I'm not kidding. I send you this, Liz. I send you this 300,000 as a rollout. So, Capital and Co's, the NGO, these people that were challenging, they could get that stuff, right?
Yep.
Obviously. So they can't say they can't get it. It's out there.
Exactly right.
Because I think that
Sorry, go on.
Well, I think that a lot of what's happening here is that there's been the FISA God and everything else has been suppressed. And what we have to say is, no, FISA is one way, but there's many other ways, mate. So open up and stop repressing everybody. So
well,
I thought that was quite good news. I'll send you that link.
It is. That's great. FISA is the way to perdition, actually. But also, I was just thinking about, another client was telling me that she saw an article that had been put out recently or maybe back a while back for the preschools, that they've got the breathalyzer test that they're running, and they expect to roll it out in 3 or 4 weeks' time.
Well, there you go.
In Canterbury somewhere. Yeah. It'll be linked to the University of Canterbury, who are, and you know, the University of Otago, it's funded by Bill and Melinda Gates, you know. So these universities are also complicit. The whole of the Crown entities are complicit.
And New Zealand could do that too.
Yeah. Or Air New Zealand, right? I know even the BBC website was saying back in November of last year that they had that there was a company in Wales that was developing the breathalyzer, and it, you know, it could be, amazing, you know, where everybody could travel again, and you know, they just do the breathalyzer, because you don't need MIQ centres then. You breathalyze people, you atmospherically test the plane, you breathalyze people before they get on the plane, and you breathalyze them when they get to the other end, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, but Liz, if you do
and
that,
that's it. Finished.
People don't do the FISA God. That's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
a problem for the religion of the FISA religion.
It sure is.
Now, just one more quick question. We send this to the HR and all these people. We do not have to send the letter to WorkSafe, do we?
No, that's their responsibility.
That's their
responsibility.
Okay. Yep. That's all from me. I'm done.
Great.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Felisa. You're next, Jeff. Mute yourself. Thanks very much for your patience.
You're welcome. Hey, Liz.
Oh, hi, Jeff.
You're doing a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you, dear.
One thing, you mentioned this testing company and how they may be conflicted and all the rest of it. You know me, I like to do research. Do you want to tell me the name of the company and I'll
no, the person who told me said he couldn't tell me because they had a non-disclosure agreement with them.
All right, fair enough, no problem. Now,
yeah, I mean, I'd love to know what the name is, but no, he wouldn't tell me.
Okay.
But he did tell me. He did tell me that the government knew about them, and the government was turning them down, and the government knew that they were exporting as well.
Okay. When you mentioned the buzzword in my vocabulary, liability. You know my insurance background, and how do you see possibly the statutory liability insurance figuring in this? Because I had a client once. And he breached the statute, and because he'd bought the statutory liability insurance, that paid out. under the statute that
There
he
is,
did.
I think it's section, and it's in the letter. I think it's the section paragraph, a second paragraph of the letter from memory, where I point out that you can't put this obligation onto somebody else. And the other thing is you're not allowed to insure yourself against it. So no, there is no, it's like, also it's like companies, I don't know, and under the Employment Relations Act, but no, I think they can insure themselves here. But under this act, yeah, they are not allowed to insure themselves.
Sorry.
That is to stop companies, basically, you know, big companies, corporations, etc., just taking out public liability insurance and just using up workers in a dangerous, you know, say they were working in a nuclear power station and they had a nice big public liability insurance and they just didn't take the proper precautions and people got sick from radiation poisoning or something.
Okay.
Or whatever would happen. I don't know. I don't watch the Simpsons enough to know about that, but yeah, so no, they're not. And if they do that, they could be in for prison time as well, because these are the sorts of, you know, what the law regards as horrendous breaches of the Act. To if they got found out that they were insured with anybody, yeah, there'll be jail time for people. PCB.
And so would the same thing apply as far as professional negligence goes, as opposed to straight public liability?
Yeah,
Because,
yeah, they can't insure in any way against it.
okay. And
They're completely safe, because this is an anti-slavery section in the Act. If you were to allow people to, just because they had money or power of some other kind, to endanger people's health and lives, that's tantamount to slavery. And you'll notice that the other people who aren't, apart from volunteers who are not covered, are prisoners working on prison work. Okay, so yeah, we would be regarded as slaves and prisoners in law, if they were allowed to induce us back to work, or bribe us, or you know, insure against all of these things. You know, they'll just insure against anything. You can be insured against anything, as you probably know, Jeff, except the Health and Safety at Work Act. I don't know other acts. There probably are, but definitely this one.
And just finally, do you see any place for notices of liability in this situation, like was served on the school boards and the principals and what have you?
Well, they think that under the Act, they're covered by Section 34, I believe. But once they see Section 83 really and you know, with a combination of Section 47, really wakes them up to the fact of where they are, especially if people can get their heads around this stuff and you know, be able to say it for themselves. Because yes, that liability, those liability notices, they thought that they were anybody acting under, which includes police and the other enforcers, right, like the people from WorkSafe, etc. They thought that they were all nice and safe. There's a couple of things that tell me they're not, but the thing is that notice is very, very important. So they were saying, one of the early ones I did with a company was, they said, oh, well, we haven't had notices anything in our workspace, you know, we haven't had notices COVID-19. and the actual letter is notice, right? That's notice. So, yeah, once you have notice and you continue on in a course of action, then your protection from liability is lost. So it applies to the police, you know, I mean, this is in the wider context, you know, arrests and stuff like that. But yeah, they've been very poorly advised in terms of law, I think.
Okay, thanks, Liz.
Okay.
Awesome, thanks, Graham. Ants, you're next, if you want to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Steve.
What to do
Hello.
with the ignoring? What to do with the ignoring? Well, anybody, I don't know anybody who's ignored anything once they've had Section 83 explained to them properly.
Good evening, Liz.
Oh, hi, Ants.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Just quickly, my circumstances have changed a little bit at work. I don't know if you got a chance to read that email I sent to you that we recently got from our management.
I think I didn't. I'm sorry, Ants. I've just been.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can
That's fine.
quickly.
So,
yeah, tell us here.
they've sent us a letter saying they want to meet with us over the next 3 weeks. The port is looking at making it a mandate that everyone that comes through the gate be vaccinated. I know that our company, which we did a lot of extensive work with back in August, September, haven't done their due diligence on the risk assessment analysis document that they need to do. So the Section 83 will actually push them head first into that direction, won't it?
Yeah. Now, you know how I was talking before about they have responsibility for everybody who comes onto a workspace as well. So, you know, they got people walking through the gate, then they'd be well advised to get this breathalyzer stuff done, because once they go to their lawyers and say, listen, you know, what's going on, we're being threatened with jail, etc.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty quick to come up with the technology. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course,
but in terms of your situation, any meetings have to be Zoom meetings. Once their Section 83 is in, Zoom meetings only.
Right. I'm currently on compo at the moment. I came off work Wednesday morning on a back injury, and I'm not due back to work till the 10th of December. Does that affect anything?
No, because the thing is that, yeah, the more Section 83s we get in, the better. And also, it gives you that distance from them when they want to start this, what do they call, consultation process.
Yeah.
So their minds need to be concentrated a little, you know, on the point.
Yes. So do I also serve the port this, or do I just serve ISL?
Yeah. Well, what I would do is I'd CC it, and I wouldn't BC it. I'd CC it so they can all see it.
Right.
Sounds like a song, doesn't it? Yeah.
So I only really need to CC one of the port CEOs into this, don't I?
Yeah, the CEOs 12A. Do you remember when I started to do that work on the order, and I was talking about, yeah, that only special people would get this, would get the approval of the minister. Now, looking at Section 12A again, I think the CEO is, and I spoke about that woman, didn't I? What's her name? She's the CEO of the ports. Or is it Transport New Zealand she's CEO of?
I think the one you're talking about is Transport New Zealand.
Transport New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she could just make everybody exempt.
Right. I know there is a group of guys that want to follow in my direction, but you know the history behind the last group I advocated for.
Yeah.
So I'm going to steer them with the right tools, but it's their own walk as far as I'm concerned, because you know how I got burnt last time.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what you know, the work group situation is difficult, because you know, you get one going in the wrong direction and it just mucks everything up. So yeah, people make their own decision. They don't have to, you know, if they don't want to put in a Section 83, they want to do something else. I don't know what they do though.
Yep.
Then that's up to them. But I'm very happy for the people who put into the Section 83, if they want to arrange a collective Zoom meeting with the bosses, and you know, I'm happy to advocate for you all.
All right. At this stage, Liz, pretty much with conversation with you over the late, I have no further questions, but if I come up with anything, I'll no doubt contact you.
Cool. Thanks, Ants.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Ants. Right, Kathy, rifle, fire away.
Kathy, is that?
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you.
Right. Okay. Hang on a second. My husband's on here. Hang on. I've got to go turn his off.
You've left the stage, Kathy.
Yeah, she's got. I think her husband's on as well, so it's got that crazy echo because it can hear hers and hear his.
Okay.
So it just like chain reacts through the Zoom.
I'm just turning him off.
Ooh.
Oh God. I've got everything going on. Hang on, I'm trying to find this thing.
Ooh.
I'll find you and
Zoom. How do I get into leave?
Hi, Kathy.
right, Kathy, you go for it when you're ready.
I have a lot of sympathy for the tech problems. Oh, losing my phone for a day and a half. Oh, what a mission.
That was entertaining to say the least. Possibly not so much for you.
No.
Kathy,
There we go.
Hi.
Hi. Right. Okay. So I'm in an interesting situation because I work for a national special education school. So we have multiple sites. So I work for Deaf Education. We have a national office in Auckland. We have a national office in Christchurch. We have sensory sites across the country. We have our residential sites and our in our enrolled school we have partner schools, and then in our outreach we've got mainstream schools across Aotearoa, and then we have our kit days, which can be held anywhere, and our marae. And so when we're thinking about, I can understand the breath testing part, the breathalyzing, but with regards to atmospheric testing across, you know, the whole of New Zealand, and sometimes in other schools that we just contract into, how does that work? Because so I'm a senior leader with the organisation, and so it requires me to be wee wah all over the place.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. So the atmospheric testing, they started to do not well, the first study I saw was, but I haven't really, I did 5 minutes research and got all of the information that WorkSafe didn't seem to be able to get in 2 years. That they had done atmospheric testing as far back as 2015, and they can do it both indoors and outdoors, right? Funny thing is, there are more viruses in outdoor settings than there are in indoor settings. Yeah. And so so this, it doesn't matter what your workspace is, whether it be the cab of a truck or you're in an outdoor venue on a stage having a concert. All of those places can be tested with atmospheric testing. Breathalyzer testing, I think, is pretty much self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm. So if I was to use a Section 83, use that for my employer, then am I saying you would need to test every possible site that I would go to?
That's exactly right. Yeah. We have that situation with the people who are working in care in people's homes, in people's private homes. Those private homes become the workspace and are the responsibility of your employer. Okay? So the PCBU has to provide in each home, in each workspace, they have to provide atmospheric testing and what do you call it? And people coming in and out. I think the atmospheric testing is probably going to be a one-off sort of thing. It shouldn't need to be done all of the time, as long as the person that's being cared for is tested and the person coming in and out of the building is tested. And apparently it's pretty quick. Yeah, seconds.
Yeah. I could just see them saying, if we were having to atmospheric test every single location across the whole of Aotearoa through, 400 plus different schools, then
they're wanting to jab people in 400 plus different schools.
I know that, but I can just see them going.
And I think
it's too hard basket for us.
Expensive, yeah.
Yeah. I can just see them saying it's too hard basket, we have to deploy you. But
that's going to be funny when they're in jail saying it was too hard basket, isn't it?
The other thing that, just out of interest, I did have a chat with our executive principal about the 12A clause, the exception clause, and he said, we just can't do it. We can't do it because if we do it for one person, we've got to do it for everybody, and then that will create discrimination and da-da-da-da-da.
Well, the point is that they do it for everybody, and then they haven't got a problem with discrimination, have they? That's the answer to that. Now, they're going to have to, if that's the way they want to get out, they're going to have to do it for everybody, okay?
Yeah.
I know that the people who have already been jabbed are going to be hacked off, but that's not our problem.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think that was it. The only other thing was just the advocating for our deaf staff who are just, those who don't want to be vaccinated. Some of them are just really struggling, and I'm doing what I can to support them, but I'm in a really difficult situation as well, because as a senior leader, I'm expected to be pushing the Ministry of Education's narrative. And encouraging our staff.
Please do not, because if you do, sorry, Katie, but if you do, you can also be implicated and face fines in prison. Okay.
Yeah, and that's I haven't been. Doing
once you have notice of that's the situation, I'm sorry, you have what's called guilty knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So if you continue on, I'm sorry. Once you know this situation, that is a hazardous work site, and the reason is because they've extended their power over those other sites, including the doctor's office. I don't know if you were here before when I was talking about they might not be bringing the actual physical jab onto the work site, but they are have control over the doctor's office by control of the work, or control, not control of the work, by control of the space. It's the same if you look in, I think I put the whole of the section in, which I think it's section 24 or something. You're going to have a look, which talks about workers who are working in the workspace and workers who are controlled by the PCBU in another workspace or something like that. But that's what it means anyway. So when you're the worker who's going into another workspace that the PCBU is controlling by implication, because you wouldn't be there getting a vaccination at the doctor's unless they were forbidding the workspace to you, right?
Yeah, for sure. Just one thing, I just wanted to just double check that I'd written that that email address down correctly. So it was freedom4kiwis2@gmail.com.
That's correct. Yep.
That's it. Okay. And so if I email that, then you can forward the letter to me. Is
Well,
that
the person who's controlling that email address will forward the letter,
right?
Because it's otherwise it's like just too much. I just haven't got the time to do all the admin. Yep.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Kathy. Right, Dora, it's your turn to explore. Take it away.
Hi, Dora.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Liz. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yes, I've been exploring a little. I've been advocating for a couple of people here in Taranaki in New Plymouth. So we did put the letter in, and the HR manager and the CEO asked me to go and have a chat with them.
Yeah.
And I said to them, is that in regards to the people that I'm advocating for? And they said yes, and I said no, but I will talk to you about the Act. So I went in and spoke to them, and I just want to encourage everyone that they're very, very worried. Your CEOs and your HR managers are freaking out. They do not understand. Liz was quite right. They said the same thing that I just heard. We can't allow this for everybody. I said, that's not my problem. That's your problem. You will make allowances for the few that are wanting their own workspace. You have to provide them a safe workspace. They are not your workspace. They are your staff. They don't provide you safety. You provide them safety. So you will make allowances. So they will need an office in their own home until you provide them a safe workplace. They will need X, Y, and Z. And they said, well, who's this for? I said, every staff member that can't come into the office, because the onus is on you. The onus isn't on the staff to be safe. The onus is on you to provide the safe environment. And it is, and you will be fined, and you can be fined. And they said, oh, well, we're just going to terminate their employment. And I said to them, then I'll see you in court. And they said, we can't afford this. I said, again, that's not my problem. They said, well, we don't know what to do. I said, yes, you do. I've just told you what to do. So they said they don't understand the Act. I said, are you qualified in your role as HR? She said, yes. I said, then you do. As far as the court is concerned, you do. And I said to the CEO, are you qualified in your position? Oh, yes, I've done the full training. And as far as the court is concerned, you are. So both of you risk being personally liable now, personally, because you both admitted to me that you're properly qualified in these roles. So are you prepared to take the risk? Because they're not prepared to take the risk that you're willing to put on them. I said, unless you can provide to me sound evidence that this vaccine is safe. Well, I said, well, actually, it's not even a vaccine. It's registered as gene therapy. They said, oh, we don't know about that. And I said to them, well, actually, I'm a qualified researcher, and I've researched this. It's gene therapy, and it's in phase 3 testing. This is why it can't be mandatory. They said, oh, it's a mandatory requirement. I said, prove it to me right now. They said, oh, it's on TV. I said, no, you've got the internet. Whip something up right now. Quote me an act right now. And they said, we don't know. I said, well, is that what you're going to say to the judge? You don't know? Because that's the kind of stuff I'm going to be asking in court. And they said, well, we don't know what to do. I said, I've just given you advice on what to do. Have you spoken to a lawyer? They said, no. I said, well, that's not my problem either. Your problem is not my problem. You will provide the safe work environment. So they were freaking out. So the suggestion I made to them was that they have to take the workplace to these independent people that are working. A couple of them are volunteers in their workspace, and it's interesting that you brought that up, Liz, because I said to them, show me the document that you've given the staff, your volunteer staff, and they gave it to me, and I said, where? Hi, everybody. Hi. I said, where in the where in the legislation are you trying to enforce this? Oh, it's a requirement. I said, I didn't ask about requirements. Where? Just one legislation will do. And they said, oh, we think. I said, I don't ask what you think. The court isn't interested in your opinion. So you need to understand that these things in law are being tested out throughout New Zealand. There are 5 live cases in New Zealand about this very thing. In Australia, and I just wanted to share this as well, in Australia, companies that have pursued this and forced their workers to be vaccinated and injected, and those members have become permanently, have received a permanent injury and can't return to work for life now, the government changed the law so the liability is back on the workplaces, and those workplaces have had to become liquidated because they can't afford to pay for their staff, the number of staff that have got these injuries. Now, we have that here in New Zealand, which is ACC, but I understand, Liz, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're only accepting about 43 to 45% of vaccine injuries for pay.
Yeah.
Coverage.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too that it's the taxpayer who's paying for ACC as well.
Yes,
but
they're insurance companies as well, aren't they?
Yeah. And the thing is that ACC are horrendously difficult to deal with.
Yes.
They even though we pay their wages and we pay, ACC premiums every because they're an insurer. That's all they are. We're forced into them, being insured with them. So they're very hard to deal with. I saw one ACC claim that they're talking about, what have they called it? They've called it a chronic fatigue syndrome injury by the vax. Now, ACC won't accept chronic fatigue injury claims, as far as I know. They'll be turning down a lot.
Yeah, so it's a high percentage. 40.
Also, it's a piddling amount. It's a piddling amount. I'd say there's 2 ways to deal with this. One is, of course, you've got to put the ACC claim in, but the thing is that under a medical trials regime, which is what this is, the sponsor of the trial has to pay. So Pfizer should be made to pay for all of this, not our country.
So just going back, I just wanted to just encourage everybody that the knowledge that you have is sound, the advice that you're receiving is sound, and just eyeball your manager or your CEO, your team leader, and just be very firm about your health and say, well, actually, no, I'm prepared. And as Liz said, don't go back to, so the people that I'm advocating for, I've told them as well, Liz, don't go back to work.
Good. Yep.
The workplace can courier your work to you or email or whatever they need to do. They're not, I've also advised them not to go back into to mediate or discuss or do anything like that without me being present. So, it's.
Hey, Dora, do you think you could get a whole lot of? I mean, I know that you'll be qualified this this coming year, but do you think you could get a whole lot of people you know, the new ones into law, the first newly qualified lawyers before they get tainted. They'd be a mighty force for good in all of that.
I figured that too. Because I have qualified, but I'm now doing my masters.
Right, okay,
yeah,
sorry about that.
I'm doing my masters in law,
Well,
but I
if
figured
you're doing masters, you're better qualified than me then.
I figured before I give my oath, I can be a bit rogue until that time, and so I've been a bit rogue in the courts, and I did have one judge peer over his glasses and say, Miss Smith, I do understand that you are duly qualified, and I said, sir, but not registered.
Well, this is the other thing, you know, about registration is not it's not all it's cracked up to be, and of course the registration is voluntary. Yes. I didn't even realise that until I started having trouble with the Law Society, that we don't even have to get registered.
No, we don't. I didn't think, no, because I looked at it too, because I like being rogue.
You're a new breed, Dora. Don't go tripping over yourself for the registration, because you have to pay. What are they charging now?
I haven't looked, but I think it's a few thousands.
Yeah, I thought it was at least 2,000. Yeah.
And I've also got to pay for the exam, about the profs exams. So you've got $7,000. So all up it's about
it was about 4 when I did mine. Yeah,
it's about 7 now. So all up it's going to cost me about 10. But I just wanted to encourage everybody just to stand fast on your life. This is your life. Stand fast on the legislation. And I just wanted to follow up on something that Liz said, if you don't mind, Liz. The law is designed to protect you, not them. So under the Crimes Act, and I think it's Section 153, it is a crime for an officer to violate and go against the law. So the law is designed, so in this case we've got Section 83 and Section 47. So the law is designed to protect you. It's the same with WorkSafe. The purpose of WorkSafe was to protect you. It's not to protect government. It's not to
I saw you called.
So, oh my gosh. Just wanted to encourage everyone.
Listen.
Thanks everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Dora. Sorry about that. Someone just kept unmuting themselves. I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's all good. Heidi, I'm pretty sure you were the next one, and then Junior. How many more questions do you want to take, Liz?
Well, I was under the impression that you had to be gone somewhere. You know, it's up to you. I'm happy to talk all night about this stuff. No, I should have said that.
I'll go to 9.
Pardon?
I'll go to 9. Heidi,
you'll go to 9. Okay.
I'm not sure what's going on with your phone, Heidi, but
how many people I'm just waiting online.
Sounds like you're strangling it.
How many people have we got online?
We've got 38. We had 44 before, so it was great. It's really cool.
Okay, and of course, a lot of those people are talking about being with groups of people, so that's very good.
Even better. Yeah, even better.
Awesome. Sorry, I was just waiting for you guys to finish. Sorry. So Liz, my workplace also brought out their own immunisation policy.
Yeah.
Just recently, they did a draft policy and put out some questions and stuff, and I sent in a whole heap of questions about, one was to do with the PCBU and liability, etc. They have not answered any of those questions. That was sent to HR, which was where we were told to send it. I've sent that twice now. So I'm assuming this letter would cover that as well, given that my contract was done 12 years ago.
Yeah, contracts, unless they're fixed term, are ongoing.
No, permanent. Yep. Okay. Now the other thing I want to ask you about is they've already tried to implicate me in a complaint. It was an anonymous complaint. It had an anonymous name, an anonymous email, an anonymous phone number.
Sorry, what's your industry?
Plunkett.
Oh, Plunkett, right. Sorry,
yep.
it was Heidi. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, listen. I know. Oh, look, the way to get these guys about the complaints, right? Because I was looking after a midwife.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, you know about Sarai?
I do know about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the strategy to blow them out of the water was accuse them of trying to damp down political speech, right? And we actually got evidence that it was political. It was that the criticism of government. By criticising the Vax, you were criticising government as far as they were concerned, and they were saying that was bringing the profession into disrepute and all of this crap. So on the page, Pacific Independent. What's it called? Independent Pacifica midwife. I just published all of the stuff. I just published it all of the letters back and forth, all of the letters saying to them, you know, I don't expect this. My client doesn't expect this sort of thing to go on in a democratic country. This is the sort of stuff that went on in South Africa, and I didn't say South Africa, but one of the I know one of the complainants was South African. Communist China, Soviet Russia, and the latest is, of course, the Chinese Communist Party. So anyway, they just kept on, and now there's a complaint against them in the because they took her to a, well, they said they were going to take her to a what do they call it? It's a kind of a professional conduct something. And anyway, so, but I got some marvellous stuff off there about the sort of, they sent all of this documentation out about, you know, all of the things that they had to abide by and all of your rights, and a whole lot of stuff about natural law, and it was really, really good because, you know, I'd learned all of this stuff back in law school, but, you know, you can kind of forget a whole lot, and while you're trying to remember the rest. And so I have it all, you know, written down exactly what they had, the process they have to follow. You can keep them tied up in process for anything like that for years, right?
Okay.
They will drop long before you.
But that is going to cost me quite a bit of money if I have to go down.
It doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't cost you anything. Really? And the thing is too, that, and I also found out in the process, all of the acts that you don't have to have a lawyer for, that you can have an advocate, you can have anybody represent you, so they can actually go to the court and represent you in these things. A lot of these things are in tribunals, at tribunal level. You don't have to have lawyers. And also, I also found out all of the ways that doctors and nurses and medical people, coroners and everybody who can lose their license so I mean, these people these doctors are saying, well, I'm not going to give you an exemption because, you know, somebody up there might take my license off me. These people have got so many ways to lose their license. It's just unbelievable, and you can sue them under each of the acts, right? So we have, you know, every day there's more and more weapons to use in this battle. I call them weapons of law.
Well, so it's the thing, I've got an affidavit of life, and I was wondering if I should just go straight to a notice, but I might try this first.
Yeah. Listen, Heidi, I'm sorry, but I'm just not a fan of that stuff. It's like, you know, people trying to reinvent the common law wheel, which is extremely sophisticated and very, very good, and pretty simple if you know what Nora was saying. if you realise the law is actually there for you to protect you against the corporations, against governments, against anything non-living, the law is there to protect you. The
Yeah, but it
law.
doesn't seem to, it doesn't,
I know it
sometimes
doesn't seem to
work.
because we've never
No.
been taught how to do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've never been taught how to do it. Lawyers are taught how
Yep.
to do it, but they
Not doing it
often,
right.
you know, well, it's not that. It's just that they're in a system that, you know, is like high status and highly paid, and a lot of them just do not want to, you know, they just don't want to either work for nothing or, oh, they've got to work for something, but they don't need to, you know, they don't need the money they've got. But a lot of it is status. It's like, yeah, and it's the same with doctors. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so you know, but you know, this has been a great teaching opportunity for people. And a great learning opportunity for people. And I believe, you know, you guys who are going to do Section 83, you're going to be better than the lawyers in this particular field, much better.
Cool. I've just got one more question. On your letter, on the back page, it says, I'm not sure if I'm reading this wrong, so I just need to know whether I'm supposed to put something in here. Consequently, I must now refuse to work, name of place or work, or a position of place of work until the risk conditions of the workplace are remedied and mitigated.
Well, what you'll be putting in there is your, if you just work in one workplace, just put the name of the school or, Plunket.
So it's
if you're
for Plunket Whanau Whina, is it?
Yeah, beg your pardon?
Or Whakatane Plunket or Eastern Bay of Plenty Plunket?
Yeah, that's right. Name the physical place, you know, put the address in.
Okay.
And then they get that, because you've got to kind of get them out of their fuzzy thinking. They're kind of in this dream where they don't understand the difference between people and places, because we've had 2 years of propaganda about people.
Yeah, I've got a sneaky suspicion. So it was interesting. I'm a little bit intuitive, and I had my camera off because I couldn't help but thinking, if you saw my face, you'd know I'm seeing right through you. I have a feeling that the girl that was dealing with me sort of has some idea what's going on, but the one above her's got a good idea of what's going on. I know that they are aware I've got things up my sleeve, but I haven't pulled them out yet. So that's why I was kind of like, I'm thinking to myself, is this going to turn into a shit fight and they're going to make it miserable for me to work there? I don't actually want to be working for them anymore anyway. However, I'm going to hold on until I find something else, because I do believe there's better things coming in. And I think this process, personally, if everybody's doing it, and I've got a few people I'm going to go off and talk to about this after the Zoom tonight and tomorrow, that are in the same boat, is going to take down the systems.
It is.
Yeah, in a very big way. Then we can start rebuilding them.
Yeah. And we'll build them properly this time.
Yes. Yeah. No, I thank you very much for your time, and I'm really very grateful to Josie to have put me onto this, because it's been incredibly stressful, and I have been to the doctor and she's given me antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs for my mental state. I've spent probably the last 5 weeks crying my head off most days, because I was kind of like, I know I need to do this stuff, but I don't fight until I have to. But tonight's actually given me the confidence to say, fuck this, I'm going to do this now.
Good on you.
Flush those in the toilet, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey Liz,
so thank
that's
you.
the only place they deserve to be, is in the toilet.
Well, that's it. And especially when they know what they're doing. And this particular person that doesn't like me, and I don't like her and haven't for years, because I'm not moldable like the others. And I think that's why I've picked up that they've been trying to sort of slowly weed me out for years. And then, of course, this complaint came in, which, as I said, apparently went straight to head office, and it was anonymous in every way, name, email address, everything. It spouted off all the shit I was supposed to send.
They have to, you know, they have to provide you with that. They have to provide you with what the complaint was and where it was from. Anonymous is no good.
No, well, that's what they did, and I had to reply. Now, There is someone just above me that looks after me that I believe is looking after me. She said to me, you have to reply to this, but you need to be very careful what you say, because she was indicating that they're looking for me to trip myself up. Yeah, so
well,
she has been looking after me.
In the case of Sarai, it was obviously they didn't like her talking about the backs. But I mean, the first letter, I think I said to them, well, where's, you know, this is nothing to do with the practice. So, you know, she's got a spotless practice record. What are you on about?
Yeah, no, that's right.
But,
no, thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
Wicked. So, Ellie, you were next. Thank you so much, Ellie. And exactly what you were saying, Heidi, that's why me and Liz are happy to volunteer our time for this, because we want this, not just this gone, we want the system gone. We want this whole crooked crock of where those antidepressants can go, where the sun don't shine, we want them gone. So, Ellie, you're up next. Thanks for your patience. Appreciate it.
Hi, Ellie.
Hi, Liz.
Oh, hi, Ellie.
So yeah, I can't really send in the 83 because mine comes with accommodation. I've had two letters to my mailbox, hand delivered, and about 3 emails. So I will be stood down on the 16th without pay. But in another letter, because it comes with tenancy, she said as a measure of good faith, she will pay me 4 weeks so I can work out my tenancy, because I said to her that I understand I will be fired on the 16th if I haven't provided, you know, my details of a vaccination. So, yeah, I guess I just don't have the fight. I've just so against the Bible.
What have you got? Sorry, Ellie, what have you got to lose? I mean, yeah, what have you got to lose? The thing is that the more Section 83s we can get in, the better.
Yeah, but you did say to me, because of my situation, I can't just send it in as is, because
yeah, it'll need a little tweaking. Yeah, I can help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she. I mean, this I've said a few times tonight. You know, people are saying, "Oh, but you know, it won't work," sort of thing. Well, that's because the employer doesn't know about the Health and Safety at Work Act, and they've just been led round by the nose by the propaganda and WorkSafe and the Ministry of Health, and you know, all very powerful figures, right? All very people holding the purse strings, etc., etc. And yeah, because I know that even your employer, that she will be getting the money to employ you off the government. However, the government are under huge pressure now. So I would say still put it in. You know, send it off to me. I don't know. Have I provided you with one already?
No, I got it off.
Okay, well, we can work.
I got it off someone else that you sent it to.
Yeah, because you're on the island. We can meet up and work on it. Yeah.
Before Monday. Or Monday.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've got until midnight on Monday, isn't it?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. We'll work on it on Monday.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't want any left behind, but really we don't want anybody left behind. Not left behind from getting vaxxed, but left behind from beating them.
Yeah, no one will be left behind. We will have all the survivors with us, and we will.
We will be the survivors.
Lynching.
Yeah.
We will be lynching. Right. So, Lisa, you're next. If you unmute yourself, please.
Hi, Liz. Lisa here. I've been chatting with you off and on Messenger.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So my situation is I'm in North Canterbury and I work at PINAC NZ, and we had our big meeting the other day. The situation is that they have given the staff from the 10th 2 weeks to give them feedback about what we think about having to have vaccination in the workplace. So once I've got that feed, they're going to go through it, and then they will make their decision if they're going to bring it in, mandate it in the workplace. And if that happens, then of course, if you haven't had it by the 1st of February, well, then you may, as they put it, lose your job or whatever.
Yeah.
My question, with that Section 83, when would I put that in?
Now, because
Right, okay.
the government is pushing everybody, and the government is now in the gun. Okay, so yeah, I would say everybody
Right.
put it in as soon as possible. We've got plenty of time for meetings with them. As I was saying, people do not once section. Oh, are you still working though? You want to still keep on working?
Well, I'm a department manager.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, are things okay at work for you, or are you stressed?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I took I sort of had a wee bit of a meltdown, and then I went to the workplace counsellor, who's really good and really onto it, and she actually said to me, "Look, you need to take some stress leave."
Okay.
So I took about a week's stress leave off.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I had another meeting, like I say, this week they called me up to the office on my own because they knew how I had been feeling and so forth, and they just wanted me to get the information prior to the big meeting with all the other managers and that, but I had already known what it was going to be about because I'd seen the official email the night before on Telegram.
Right.
And so I had a fair idea what was going to happen. So at the moment, it works okay. I did apply for a exemption for the mask because I became quite sick, and that sort of caused a few issues with some of the staff in the same area where I work. So I am now wearing a shield. But at this stage, I'm quite happy to go to work because I thought, well, you know, if they're going to fire me, and I do know to hang in there, I certainly am not in.
We've got frozen.
I think your internet's a wee bit unstable, like everyone's emotional state at the moment there, Liz, unfortunately. COVID's really freaking us out. Must be freaking out the reception as well. Now, Lisa, you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, what I'd say is you've got till the 10th of next month, is it? When is it they're going to do?
No, so it's the end of this month. By the end of this month, we've got 2 weeks to put our feedback.
Here's the thing: if you're feeling that you want to go to work and you're not having any hassles, put it in closer to the time. Because once you've put it in, no going back.
Yes.
Okay, no turning around.
Okay.
So it's really up to you. But of course, a lot of people are getting in the people who are under the order. They have to have theirs in by the 15th. So I would say just hang a bit. Get really familiar with Health and Safety at Work Act.
Yep.
Have a look on WorkSafe for me. Here's a thing that you might like to do. If you can have a look on the WorkSafe website and have a look at the private prosecution stuff. You could become our expert on that. That would be really good.
Yeah,
because these Zooms will probably continue for a few weeks. Stand it, because there's going to be a lot of people who are then in the private sector Who knows though what the government will how they'll react, because now the principals and the administrators in the hospitals are starting to get the wind up. They might be facing prison time. Then yeah, we might see some dramatic changes. Hard to say at the moment.
Right.
So does that answer that question?
Yeah, just one last quick thing. Can you just explain with the Section 83, so that means I wouldn't go back to work, like, because I'm a seafood manager and I'm in a space where there can be up to like 14 people working in that area because I share it with another department. So can you just quickly explain to me, so once that 83 goes in, then what are the tests that they have to do? It's atmospheric one, is that right?
Atmospheric.
And then what was the other one?
Breathalyzer tests. And now those breathalyzer tests have to be applied to every customer coming through the door. Plus, yeah, good.
Wow.
And to all of the staff, of course. Yeah.
Wow. And how often would that have to be done?
Every time you come into work in the morning, you have to do the breathalyzer test. I'm not sure how often the atmospheric testing would have to be done. But yeah, every customer coming through the door.
Ooh. And that's at their cost, isn't it?
Oh yes.
So just one last thing.
So they might decide there's no COVID anymore. but then,
so are you finding?
But then you can say, well, I'm not, the jab, then we'd be left with they have to, the thing is that there's still a hazard in the workplace because you've got jabbed people there who could be shedding. And also if they're still insisting on jab rubbish,
So at the end of the day, even if they did do that, they could then still come back and say, well, if you haven't had the jab, you go?
No, because once the Section 83 is in, they haven't remedied the workplace, and there's no need for you to them to be worried about you being jabbed if you're not in the workplace anyway.
Right. Oh, well, yeah, that's true. And the only other thing I was going to say, because my role, I can't do really any of it from home.
Yep, that's okay. That just puts urgency. That just puts urgency on them because they're not. Yep.
So would I still get paid?
Yeah, absolutely. It's there. It's there. If there's a hazard in the work, just imagine if they had they had Ebola in the workplace, right?
Yeah.
And you're off while they cleaned it up, right? You're still going to get paid.
Good.
Well, why would you be paid? It's not your fault.
No, well, that's right. I'm sick to the back, team. We have to clean 6 times a day on all surfaces where people touch, for goodness sake.
I'm sorry. That was my fault. When I was working for the ports, right, before I thought about the breath testing, I thought about surfaces, right? So then I started to talk to the port bosses about what about your section, what about the Health and Safety Act and under the, and under Section 31, you're supposed to mitigate and blah, blah, blah. Have you tested all the surfaces? But that was a kind of a couple of weeks before I thought up the breathalyzer one, right, and started to do research on that. So, and I noticed that when I was going into my local supermarket, they were cleaning everything, right, and it's like cleaning.
And of course, I know it's a load of rot, and of course, it's just like, this is just and I look around because now I don't have to wear a mask, and I look around at all these muppets that are wearing masks and think, oh, this is just gotta go. It's gotta stop.
I know.
Anyway, well, thank you very much.
Okay, Lisa. Nice talking.
Okay.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Right, we've got time for 2 more questions. You're welcome, Lisa. The next one is PP. Not Pepe Le Pew, I bet. I hope not.
Thanks, Colleen. Sorry. Thanks, Liz, for taking this time. I have a few questions. My first one is, I'm a consultant in quantity surveying and I have only one client. I don't have a contract with them. And I did ask them about the whole vaccination situation. And at the moment, my boss has basically says to me, oh, let's just ride this out. Even though everyone at my client's building space is vaccinated, I'm the only one that wouldn't be. I work from home, so I only go to Penny Homes. I only go to them 2 days a fortnight. Because I've been in lockdown, haven't been there in ages. If this deadline comes on Monday or Tuesday or whatever, and then they turn around and say,
Well, this deadline is for people who are in the education and health sector. Okay, that's that one. Now, in terms of other workspaces, that you've got to remember that Section 20, if you look at Section 20 of the Health and Safety at Work Act, you will see the range of workspaces that are covered, indoor and outdoor. Okay, so if they start any vaccination rubbish, you can just say, well, actually, you need to, wherever you go into, then that has to be tested.
So every construction site?
Yep.
Okay. So would I give them a Section 83 letter once they start asking that sort of thing?
Well, as I say, if they're saying, let's ride this out, perhaps they just want to ride it out. But it would be quite good to, if you're getting any stress from them, to send it in and saying, listen, I can see the way the wind's blowing and I think you should be aware of this. Because they've got vaccinated people there now. See, we can also, with the Section 83 letter, we can put the wind up them and say, okay, unless your staff have done this voluntarily, you're in problems.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they haven't coerced anybody into it anyway. It's poor fools that's gone and done it. Yeah. But any employer that's saying, oh, vaccination, ooh. But it would be a good idea to talk to them and tell them, about what we've been talking about and saying, watch out. Don't go down that path because it's very, very dangerous. You could lose your business and you could be jailed.
A great idea, like give them a heads up. Like if they're actually a good employer, let them know. It's like, hey, look, this is actually
we want them on board.
We're not trying to attack employers. We just want the ones that don't want to see the sense in what they're doing to wake up. The other ones were like, hey, we don't want you going down that track. Thanks, Liz.
Yes. Well, my other question is for my daughter. She works at the cosmetic clinic, and they have been given a letter that they have to be vaccinated by the 26th of November. So my daughter sent in the NZD SOS letter, the 28-page one.
Oh, I don't know about that. 28 pages, my goodness, what have they got in there? Is that all about, under this study and that study and every other study? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Now that's good reference if you want to refer to it and say, oh, well, look at this. However, they haven't had it pointed out to them that, because they think if they see that, well, it's not us, we're being told by the government, blah, blah, blah. And so we're out, we're in the clear, right? What they haven't realised is that their PCBUs as well as employers, okay?
Yes.
And that's what they have to turn their attention to. So your daughter really needs a Section 83 letter to them.
And so,
and if it's the 26th, did you say the 26th?
Yes.
Yeah. So she's got a bit of time. If she's being hassled, then she should take stress leave until and put the letter straight in. If she takes stress leave, she might as well put the letter in straight away, as long as it's in by the 26th.
Well, they're not at work at the moment because they can't, because of their health sort of thing. So at the moment they just do Zoom calls and stuff, but she is the only one that's not vaccinated. But she put the letter in about maybe 3 weeks ago now, and then she just got an email yesterday or the day before, basically saying that they've got 2 doctors to go on Zoom with everyone to fire all their questions at them. And so, because they says that, you know, because my daughter likes to research and stuff, they says, here you go. So she's got 10,000 questions, but really at the end of the day, we need to get her to do that Section 83 letter and just get that moving so that they're aware of that side.
Yeah. These doctors who are trying to, you know, play the game, you know, have 2 sides of the story. It's like because they're being threatened with vaccination too, and well, not threatened. They're supposed to get vaccinated as well. Now they can get an exemption from another doctor. So whether there's some game going on with the doctors and they get exemptions from each other, because if they don't know what the terrible effects of this thing are, they shouldn't be practicing anyway.
Yeah.
And if they do, they're complicit, and you know, big problems for them. But yeah, but we, you know, in terms of the employer, they really do need to know their liabilities under the Health and Safety at Work Act, and the fact that they can't insure against them. We talked about this with Jeff and all of that. It's all in the letter. It's all in the letter. And it's the which one is it? It's the Freedom for Kiwis
to gmail.com.
Freedom for all Kiwis at gmail.com is the one we've got for the medical facilities. Freedom for all, ALL, Kiwis at gmail.com. And the great thing is that's what's happening is, you know, the more Zooms we have and the more people who are now being able to take time off work, do some study, they're turning into great administrators. So, you know, like that's one of that email I've given you is one of the ladies who's now you know, turning her hand to that, and she's written some very she knows how to adjust letters, you know, so she can give a little help with that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Right. One more question from Felisa.
This is very quick, and apologies, it's not about work, but my 15-year-old is giving me a really hard time because in the rowing club, they've told him he can't come back until he's double jabbed. And I'm just going to ask you, Liz, is there anything at all that we can do about it? Or
she can't come back from where?
He's a rower. He rows in a club.
Yeah.
And they said he can't come back to the club.
Oh, come back to the club. Okay.
Because he rows.
Okay, interesting. Right, now clubs are in control of our PCBUs as well, okay? Right?
Really?
So, yeah, so they don't employ, but they have their you know, they have people paying membership and that, and they're in control of a space, okay? So yeah, they can we'd have to adjust the letter a bit for that though. The other thing I really like is, and I'd been asked this about a golf club, right? They were saying to him, oh, if you don't, and I mean, as a member of the committee, and they were saying, if you don't get jabbed, you can't, you can't come and play golf. And I said to them, where's the actual ground, you know, the land? I said, is it a private golf club? Oh no, he said it's some South Canterbury something or some district council. I said, okay, I'll ODLise it.
Well, if you do have the time at some point, it's not urgent, but my 15-year-old is really upset about it.
Of
because
course.
he's really into it.
Yeah.
And he really wants to have it just to go back.
Yeah, but if you can say to him, well, if he's 15, you can withhold. You can withhold.
I will withhold.
You are allowed to withhold that, and you can get in touch.
He said, and
get in touch with any doctor you think he might go near, and say, I'm formally giving you notice that I do not consent for him to be vaccinated. I think it's Section 36 of the Care of the Child Act, 2004. You'll see that people under 16, and I think it's people under 18 are not allowed to consent if they're still living at home.
Okay.
If they're still under the care of their parent, okay? So you can get onto the doctor and say, do not do it, and you can, you know, and you can have a go at the club with Section 86.
Well, if you do anything for the club, let me know, because I might use the same letter for them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
These little things are big, because for kids, something like that is a big deal.
I know, but this is why we're pushing really hard. And I'm saying to people, even if you've decided, I've had enough, I'm just going to go and get another job, well, yeah, that's going to be
Thank
interesting.
you very much.
But
Lisa,
you know, the more people who can do it, the better. Yep.
Yeah,
Lisa,
that's one of the main reasons.
The Prime Minister of New Zealand.
What's that?
Please. I want you to be the Prime Minister of New Zealand.
Oh, please don't wish any political. I would
Me
never
neither.
have a political position. Thank you very much.
We don't want it, Liz. We want it gone. We want that gone.
The whole shebang.
Yeah, we want the whole thing gone. And yeah,
something
definitely.
completely different. Yeah.
Hey, so Liz, for this recording, where do we think we're going to find it so people can find it? I've recorded it all. It'll get sent to my computer. I'll get it sent to your Google Play as soon as possible.
Okay.
How's your editing guy going?
The website.
Yeah, can we get an update on the website? Is that possible?
Well, I sent the last one over to him to edit for us, and this one will probably hardly need editing. It's you know, we're getting so professional. And then he'll put it up on the website, and I will talk to him on Tuesday and ask him to get it up as quickly as possible. In the meantime, I will just send it out to people.
Yeah, we'll just go emails, back and forth communication. We're going to try and have one of these at least once every second night or something, Liz? Like, that's kind of what we're planning to try and get as many. So if you people that keep coming on these calls, if you can please share these with, like when I post a link or Liz gives you a Zoom, if you can share it on any of those pages, kind of makes us not look so arrogant sharing it all over the pages. That's one thing I feel. It's like, oh, look at you sharing yourself everywhere, eh? You superstar.
Yeah.
So if you could share it for us as well, we'd appreciate that. And we want to get a result, because as soon as we all get a result, we get our freaking lives back.
Yeah, exactly.
But thanks everyone. We really appreciate all your attendance. Everyone who's tuned in, everyone who watches this recording. Thank you all so much. Thanks for your kind sponsors, you were kind, and everyone just have a great night and a great weekend. And thanks again, Liz. You are the lady of the hour. And
not a politician, though. Thank you, dear.
Not all superheroes wear capes.
No, you're better than a politician.
If you all want to unmute yourself and just thank Liz and say anything to end the call, you're welcome to.
Hi, Liz. It's Ruth. Can I ask a
Oh,
question?
Ruth. Hey, hang on a minute. Forrest, can we just have a talk with Ruth?
Just for you, Liz, I tell you.
Ruth is a lady among a million. Man, oh man.
Fantastic. Go for
Thank
it,
you.
Ruth.
Ruth.
Yes.
Yes.
What I'm trying to ask is, I have sent you the format for the Section 83. I don't know if I have done the right thing. I have listened to your one of the conversation that I need to put the address, because I just put Auckland Regional Dental Services.
Right. Okay.
And name. So I need to put the address, and then I just send the Section 83 tomorrow with my stress leave from the doctor.
Very good. Very good on you. Yep, that's right. Anyway, I'll be in touch and we can have a quick chat, make sure you got it right.
Okay, so I have sent it to you. Yeah, I'm sure that you are very busy at your other address, correctly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, dear. Yeah, we had a great meeting, didn't we? We had a great Zoom meeting last week. It was really fun, and I'll tell you what, people, it's not painful. You know, you don't need any antidepressants once you have a Section 83 Zoom. It's great fun, and you'll feel very empowered. And these people, my friend Ruth there, she actually physically went to sent their Section 83 letter to them, and then physically, I didn't expect her to physically go into to the office, but she did. And when they came on, I saw the two which I was expecting to see, and then I see Ruth as well, and I'm thinking, oh. And anyway, so we talked a bit, and they were just they got me annoyed. So in the end, I said to them, well, my client's going now, so she better get out of there. And you two, you know, you're in a hazard area, and I don't know about what you're going to do when you go home to your families. And yeah, we really gave them a round to the table, didn't we, Ruth?
We did. Thank you.
Brilliant. That sounds like my kind of call.
We're gonna tomorrow, Liz. I'll be able to talk to you tomorrow, and I want to send that 83 tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow evening or something.
Yeah. Yes, we'll do it. Yep.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your.
Not in the morning. I'll be at church in the morning, dear.
Be in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Excellent, and we'll be in touch about we'll be in touch about the next time we're going to have a Zoom. You'll see it come up. Liz has either got your contacts or I've got them, so you will find us. But everyone, thanks again. Have a great night, and get out and do something that you really enjoy and love, and smile more and have more fun. Thanks.
We'll try. We'll do.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Boris. Thanks. Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.